How's it going, boys? It's been forever since I had this microphone in my face. We've had absolutely horrible timing with scheduling and everything else.
Here
But we got James C. Burns with us,
he
Mr.
is.
Frank Woods. Welcome back, buddy. One of my absolute favorite guests and favorite people on the internet.
Really
It is
happy.
a weird thing to be able to say that you are one of my close friends and I talk to you every now and then. You know, it's weird. It's a really weird life situation, but
I think it's modern. I think we create connection by having free flowing conversations and by being vulnerable and presenting yourself and trusting that the other individual is going to hear it and accept it and not try to destroy you. And I think that creates trust. So if you have that trust, you feel connected. Like we've always had great conversations. We don't always agree. And when we disagree politely. And I think
yeah, we
anything
giggle at each other and have some fun
yeah,
because that's
anytime
what
you do that, I think you're gonna have that's a friendship, you know?
yeah, it's just it's so surreal. Like think back to the '90s. Even when you were playing hockey and stuff like that, it's not like you were talking to fans every single couple months. You know what I'm saying? There's no connectivity there. Like it's just a different place where the world's at, where there's such a level of connectivity that a lot of people, I guess, don't even realize yet fully. But it's just a weird place, man. It really is.
Uh, Well, I think weird is not the optimal descriptive word. I think it's just it's. I think either you adapt or or you resist. I think the more you resist where we're going as a society and as a culture, the more it becomes. It's like it rubs the wrong way. Like this adaptability, this is not changing. It's not going away unless you have a massive EMT strike and the whole infrastructure goes down and they destroy every satellite in the sky. But this is permanent until a disaster happens, I think. So, especially in my generation, not being able to adapt to this, what's happening now, especially with AI, it's a little daunting because you can't even have a conversation with people who aren't even exposed to it. Many people aren't exposed. So it's really about we have to upgrade our empathy. We have to upgrade our ability to hold on to our own inner inner life, our own identity, our own self without demanding the external world validate us. And we have this whole subculture. It's now a subculture in America where this, especially on the left, they want to be, they demand to be validated externally. You've got to honor us because I think I'm a woman. Honor me because I think whatever it is. Like they're demanding that somehow everyone else validate them, and that's just a lazy place to be, and it's impossible because you can't make somebody feel good about themselves. You can
And
you can
that
throw trinkets, and they can
and it's
use those, but after a while, if they're really depending on you throwing them trinkets, those trinkets are going to have power. They will expand and sort of demand more because it's like a drug. Anytime
yeah.
you anytime you do something that's external and you internalize it, you become addicted to it. Because now you're not making it yourself.
Well,
You're not
you're gamifying it almost. And when you're looking for validation, whether it's just likes or subscriptions or people making money on OnlyFans or, even stupid shit like Reddit karma, where you just get upvotes for things that you say that people like, it it turns everything that you're feeling, your emotions into a game almost. So you turn into some person that you don't even realize exactly who you are. We were just having this conversation on my mental health podcast and it's a weird place the world is now where everything is that game of I want to seek external validation.
yeah.
I want the props and the points and the oh your dad's a shithead because I post my titties online now. And like they want that external validation of saying, "Oh, girl, go slay," when you could literally just find that validation from doing things that you feel confident about and you feel good about. That's where you should get your validation, not from if today's YouTube video reaches number 1 out of 10. Like that's not how you look and that's not how you should figure things out if it's a good thing or not. It should make you feel happy based off of what you do.
Yeah, there's those are good what I call points, points of data. But I think this is not new because this happened in Little League baseball. back in the 90s and early 2000s, sandlot sports just evaporated. They went away. And it's now become either you're on a professional track or else why waste your time? So you're not doing it to have fun. You're doing it as so people are being driven to these professional tracks, especially sports. Like in LA, you see nobody playing sports out except for like maybe soccer, but even that is highly organized. You really see a handful of kids in a parking lot or in a field playing baseball or just playing or playing basketball together. It's pretty much organized. Everything is organized and structured, and
I
I think
miss
that
those days, man. I
yeah,
miss being like 11, 12 years old, sitting there playing baseball with all my friends, regardless of if people bust their fucking noses open or, we broke a fucking
yeah.
window or, you hit somebody in the head playing wall ball. Where the hell is all that? Like there's
Well,
no
you
interactivity anymore.
if you extrapolate that to what's happening now, it's gone from not just like playing little league baseball or sandlot football, it's gone into everything else. I mean, if you're not going to be rewarded for just being an idiot, then I think people want to be rewarded for having no discipline. They want to be rewarded for having their lack of consequence reward them. And unfortunately, it does. I mean, movies like Jackass, which I love, but it's just it encouraged a whole bunch of people to be stupid, set themselves just to get some TikTok hits. And sexuality has been just devastated by this. I mean, how many girls at the football games you have girls shaking their ass on national television for a reason. You're not gonna remember her voice, you're gonna remember that she shook her ass, right?
Yep.
And you look at this why I really fell in love with Adele because she was such a everything was modest. They just stood there and just killed. Where I see a
Yeah.
lot of other, they got the tight dresses on and half naked girls running around being very suggestive. And so some call it art, but it's such cheap art. It's just lowbrow art. And
Yeah, there's different levels to everything, and it's so interesting trying to see exactly where that accountability comes from. I was just having that conversation last night on the mental health podcast. Uh, where where do you get that accountability from? Because it seems like the generation before me, like my parents and stuff like that, didn't really teach me how to be accountable for the words and the things that I put into the world. It was always just like, don't lie. Okay, you're lying. Once you start lying once, everything's a lie. Nobody cares. It's always the same fucking thing. There's no disconnect from, oh, you lied once. There's no rebuilding of truth because once you lie, it's always verified that you're going to lie. So
yeah,
there's
you
no way
can't
to build
ever,
that accountability.
whenever it's funny that's kind of where we are, especially with politics right now. It's because it's about winning the argument and not solving a problem that okay, yeah, you lied once before, so obviously you're lying now. No, that's a leap of that's not even connected. But that's the logic that's being used. Oh, because you once looked at a girl, that means you're a rapist. That's the leap of faith. Oh, you said this. You pumped your hand and held. Oh, you're obviously he was a Nazi salute. I mean, and you can't call these people idiots because it's not something they're doing deliberately. It's like a disease that's inhabited us that we just
It's
take
actually
it.
really it's a really interesting conversation to have because I think I figured out exactly why they do that. And it's infected the left and the very far right in a way that a lot of people genuinely I don't think understand because they don't look at it the way that I'm just trying to look at the picture and figure out why. And this is almost exactly why is they're dehumanized to everybody. So they're looking at it and saying, okay, my response is genuine because I put the thought and the effort into understanding why I feel this way. But you're disingenuous and you're not thinking about this and giving me the credit for how I feel. So I'm not going to credit anything that you feel. So then we're always talking to a wall. We're always talking to somebody's fifis because there's no fucking disconnect to understand that there's another human on the other side of the screen. Or even if you're in person, there's still no human there. They don't want to take it as you're talking and having a conversation or that you could be genuine. They're just saying, oh, well, you're a bad person.
Well, the hardest thing in the world is to perpetuate a lie. That's the hardest single human activity. Is once you have a lie in motion, the amount of energy it takes to perpetuate that lie and protect that lie and to reinforce that lie. And a lot of times the lies aren't even they're just by omission or knowing that, okay, I'm gonna pervert this piece of information and make it look other than it is. And now you gotta keep protecting that, because once again we have this system where once you get caught, once you get caught, now you're forever that, and we have no room. We have no room for recovery. We allow no one to rise out of the ashes, which is so great with Pete Hegseth, because they kept trying to take him back 20 years when he has an issue. Like, the man has grown, the man has changed, but yet they need to see. They only say, "Well, you did this once, well, yeah, but look at the man who's in front of you," and that's the hardest part. Because now, if you look at somebody in front of you, you have to give up your position of superiority. Like, see, yeah, you're a liar. I caught you, and that's like we reward that now. This whole guy. I mean, I never liked Sarah Palin, and I'm sorry I got sucked into not liking her because of the echo chamber I was in. But when she says the whole thing about gotcha media, she was right. She just predicted it 20 years before it happened. Like, yeah, they're setting her up to say something that they could turn into stupidity. It wasn't like answering a real question. They were asking her things that they could twist and manipulate. And I never saw that until the last 4 years with watching how MSNBC and CNN, how they just twist shit. I go, that's insanity.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you look back at 2012 or you look at the 2016 election, when you look at things that Obama completely out and out disagreed with in 2008, and then again in 2012, things like gay marriage. He's like, no, I don't think that should happen. He was completely against there being open borders and everything else. He wanted to deport people that were illegal. Clinton wanted to do the same thing. She wanted to deport people that were illegal. Now all of a sudden, like, when you look at this, they're saying that Trump is a racist for saying those same exact things. It's like, yes, maybe the scale is different. Maybe the things that he wants to do is different slightly here or there from what people said before him. But at the same time, we didn't say it was racist then. Now it's racist or sexist now. And it's like, guys, we did not change that much as a culture. You guys have shifted so far that everything now is lunacy. And it's just like there's no connection there.
And I think a lot of it's, I think one of the big panics about the USAID and what Elon Musk is doing is that I get a feeling that he's really, by stopping the funds, they're going to see, like, the whole thing that was exposed where Kamala Harris is, they paid all this money for performance to show up, right? They're paid to play. And it's like, well, that's interesting. So how much of the protests were paid? How much money was spent to create, through our tax dollars, to create these artificial crowds, this artificial mentality? And as you're seeing now, the protests they're minimal now, and I think that's because the money's been cut off. I think the whole thing
You
about,
even see it with US aid and libraries and stuff under Barack Obama's name. They were getting yearly deposits and availability for millions of dollars just because his name was on the building. It's like, I understand at some point you're going to build something, you're going to stick your fucking name on it, regardless of who it is, regardless of if it's Trump Jr. or Obama or Clinton or whoever you want to talk about. I understand that those things are going to happen when people do positive things for the country. That's what's going to happen. That's how those things work. But why those people are giving millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars and not their own, or like their funding from their campaigns or whatever, is insane.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I want to know where that money went. I want to know. I paid a bunch of taxes over my lifetime. It's the thing. It's like, I want to know where it goes. Some things I agree with, something like, okay, but not knowing, and the resistance that's been presented, it's like, oh, no. This is the first time we've ever had those books open, and you're
at least open to us. Like, they might have been opened within Washington. They might have been able to be seen within those conferences or whatever.
I bet it's so
I do too.
Compartmentalized. I think it's, any good spy knows you got to keep your compartments separated. I get a feeling half of those guys didn't know it. They had their own little thing, and someone else, they had something going on, but that's like detente, right? We know you're taking money, we're taking money, so we'll just act here. We'll sit here and act as if we're not taking money, but we know we are. So I think there's a huge detente. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback from both sides of the aisle, because I can't see, I can't see these people not. I mean, just when you look at how rich these congressmen get, and they have no, they have no, like, how did they become multimillionaires on
Like
$170,000 a year? How did it
even
happen?
if you're not talking about like the whatchamacallit, the jobs after they leave Congress, the jobs after they leave the military or the Joint Chiefs or wherever, like, and you disconnect all of those. Okay, so why are they allowed to invest at all when they are sitting congressmen? At all. That's step one right there. You take so much corruption out of the entire thing.
Well,
Number
that's
two,
it's like when you look at it, well, what has more information and influence than the fucking federal government? Nothing. So that
and even it,
it's the definition of insider trading. You know?
yeah. And like you could say, okay, that one person isn't allowed to. That doesn't fix the problem. It has to be at least two circles fucking deep. It's got to be two circles away from them in order for those people not to trade at all. Anybody,
Or make it painfully obvious what they're doing. Make it painfully obvious. Have them report everything on the net. So you can see that, like, okay, well, this, it has to be so freaking transparent. You can't see if they're going to invest. They got to report. There's got to be somebody they report to. I think there is. Just I think it has no teeth, and I think it's
I
been like
I
like
love
the
this.
FBI. It's been watered down by politics over the years, right? So I think there's an oversight committee that has, but it has no teeth. It has no
I
reason to
love
have teeth because it.
I love the one thing that I heard, and I love this idea. I wish that every senator or politician that accepted money from anybody has to wear like a NASCAR jacket worth of sponsors,
I love that.
and they have to fucking show it.
I've
They
seen
have to
that.
show everything.
Yeah.
It's like that. That would be fantastic. You know how much nicer that would be? It would fix fucking everything.
Well, then you also can really evaluate their statements. Like, all right, oh, oh, Bernie, you took $1.5 million from Pfizer. Well, it's just their workers. Yeah, but still, you know what? That's a good way to hide it, isn't it? So
Yeah.
there's just like, there is, you
Well,
can
then
see
there's a
that.
question of if you are supporting Pfizer and you're receiving money from Pfizer, then are you going to vote in actions that Pfizer's telling you to do so, or are you going to cut funding where Pfizer's telling you to do so?
Yeah,
It makes your choices and everything so much more visible and non-transparent
yeah.
that you're held to your word.
I just love the accountability that they're trying to make right now, but the resistance is, and within the judges. I go, can the judge do? I mean, it's just. Thank God that we have alternate media, because if you watch CNN, you're watching, they're like screeching idiots right now. I can't. You can barely watch it. So at least you have outlets now that are reporting alternative perspectives. And it's like, wait a minute, look what's happening. Look over the doors we are opening. And for decades, for how long, we've never had that. And so this is going to be a real painful, it's going to be a very painful transition. For a lot of, I had there's an older couple who really helped me when I was young in high school, and great family. They kind of took me in when things were rough. And I stopped and see them. They're in their mid-80s, and they're just they're dyed in the wool Democrats and nicest people, church going Catholics, and they got a lump of hate in their heart that it's like, oh, these people, these are good people. They are really
My
generous.
grandparents did the same thing. They were Republicans their entire life, landowner, have, owned multiple different houses and everything else. And they went completely Democrat because of Trump. They're like, oh, we don't like him specifically. And it's like, but if I take away the name Trump, yes, I understand that you think he's an asshole, whatever. But let's talk about the facts of what he wants to do and take his name away from it and see if you actually entertain what the hell he's saying. And you're like, okay, I can understand this and I can understand that, but I
Yeah.
don't like him. And it's like, but you're also being tainted by everybody who's just screeching and yelling. And the side that you're now all of a sudden jumping to is the
Well,
people with the dyed hair and the people that screech about, corrective speaking and people that want to put people in jail because they don't speak correctly. Like, what are you doing?
yeah. Well, I think it's a control mechanism. Like anything else, it's about, when you look at all the things that were happening in the last 4 years, it's about control, and people who don't know how to do things have to control those who can. So you have a bunch of you have a whole they're graduating people who just don't know how to do. They have these really strange degrees they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for, and they are promised, "So you do that, we'll pay for it." Like, no, you're not a fucking engineer. You're not a doctor. You're not somebody who's going to actually contribute to society. You have these ideas that have been shoved into your head. Now you think you should be paid for your opinions. Like, well, you don't do anything. And just like the Russian Revolution and the Chinese Cultural Revolution, they fucked it up by killing everybody who knew how to do stuff. They killed all the farmers. So half of Russia starved. China, same thing. They killed the engineers. They killed all the farmers, and they had to wait till their crop of comrades came up through the ranks. But all those masters were gone. All the master craftsmen were gone, which is like China really fell behind. They started stealing shit. I mean, that's happening here in California really badly, where I was involved in construction for a couple of years, and when I talked to the contractor, say that we got a big problem coming because all the master carpenters are now retiring, and there aren't enough journeymen who can go to the master level. So that means that the apprentice carpenters and plumbers, they are not being trained by masters; they're being trained by journeymen. So the level of skill and the level of talent is now diminishing through the ranks of the trades, because the masters, the journeymen didn't want to, didn't have enough time to take on the master level of craftsmanship. So now the journeymen are now the master level, and so that the apprentice. So basically, you had this slow downward, you had this decline, and I think that was across the board. But you're going back to talking to these old folks. They were, when I was trying to be gentle. I said, okay, and they said something outrageous of like, okay, Trump wants to murder all these illegals. And I said, oh, I'm not sure about that. Says, yeah, well, him and Elon are stealing all the Social Security. I go, where'd you hear that? Well, everybody knows that. I said, it's in the budget. I go, did you read the budget? No. Did you? I go, no. But do you understand? Like you're operating on and you would see it's like her brain froze up, and she just got angry because when you challenge it with critical with a question, and you're not agreeing with the mythology. All of a sudden, it's like you're denying this. It's like when the Muslims go off because you think Muhammad is not real, right? Or people get very zealous of religion. They go nuts when you disagree with them, right? So this is kind of a new religion where you're violating their narrative, you're violating their mythology. You disagree with, you're challenging the mythology. It's like, oh shit, I don't know how to respond to somebody because I haven't had to respond because my echo chamber agrees with me. So that's works on both sides, but I'm seeing a lot more with my
Hold on, my headphones are not fucking connecting and staying connected.
People,
just give me 2 seconds. Just keep talking.
They're
I
not going to
apologize.
vilify.
You called me an idiot.
I called you an idiot? What'd you say? I miss you, man.
I'm so frustrated.
About what?
This should be
fucking up the recording.
Just fucking hell. I don't know why my headphones just can't fucking stay connected.
Take a phone break.
Okay, now I can hear you. I should be able to at least. So edit 23.
Moving it. What else going on, man? How's your life?
Nope.
How's your health?
Still can't fucking hear you. What the fuck?
Can't hear me?
It just showed me the correct fucking thing. Yep.
All right.
So when you go through and you look at all this stuff on your end with AI and everything else, I know you brought it up before. Is my audio coming through correctly? Just nod yes or no.
I can hear you fine.
Is my audio coming through?
Yeah, I hear you good. You're fine.
Hold on. When you look at AI, like you were talking about and stuff like that,
yeah,
does that scare you with being an actor, being a voice actor and stuff?
I had this conversation the other day, and I'm very how do I put this? I don't want to insult anybody. I'm an early adapter. I have a career because I learned how to edit. I learned how to use a computer. The only reason I have a fucking career is because I was able to master editing, and so I knew how to submit demos way before it became mainstream. Years, and that gave me. And if I had depended on agents submitting me, I wouldn't get any work at all. 'Cause I had no resume. But because I was able to start editing and I learned how to use a computer and the internet, I got opportunities, and I just, I got the things happen. And that's how I'm approaching AI. And quite frankly, like I've always said this about being an artist, raise your fucking hand. You're a volunteer. Having an acting job is not a fucking civil right. It's not something you're owed. No one, you don't deserve it. No, it doesn't belong to you. It's a job, and your art is for you. You do your art. You do your thing. And if you're not willing to do it on the back of a bus or in on the back of a pickup truck, then you sure as hell aren't going to do it up on a big stage or in a big movie. You got to do it for yourself, and you throw your hat in the ring, be authentic as you can, and then go on and live your life. And AI is just one more tool you got to learn how to use, and it's just picking off the weak, man. It's like it's Darwinism. It's just the weak will not survive this, and it's just more, and it's more opportunity for me. I hear people that complain about it. Fuck it, you know what, man? Adapt, find a way. It's like, can you hear me? You cannot hear me.
Hold on, I gotta refresh. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay, hopefully that pausing worked. I apologize. I had an absolute audio conniption fit. This computer's been shitting the bed for some fucking reason, and it's really frustrating me. So, as you were saying with AI and stuff, obviously it is definitely a tool that I think could be used in very positive ways. But when you have a writer strike that happens and actor strike that happens, and they're like, "Hey, we don't want to sign away our likeness for movies to be available without us consenting to it," or whatever they were requesting, is AI getting to a place where it is something some people should be afraid of?
No, fear is the weakling's approach. Being fearful is that means you're not doing things necessary to protect yourself, take care of yourself. It means you're sitting back and letting something other than your spirituality take control. If you put your hand, let go and let God and that kind of shit. But at the same time, you have to be willing to adapt to the environment. And if you don't, it's like anything else. See, if you don't evolve, you die. And the industry is making quantum shifts, or already has. And what bothers me is that if they take old stuff that we didn't negotiate these things and they take advantage of that, that's a problem for me. But if I walk into a room now and they say, okay, we're going to take, this happened a couple contracts that I turned down. Now we want, rights in perpetuity for all. You're like, no, you can't keep my likeness for free, because then you own it, and then you can actually sue me for having using my own face. And if they're getting really fucking, so that's the protection we need. That it's going to happen. They're going to use it. We just have to make sure that when we go in, that we set the limitations as to how they can. And this is like any other contract. This has been the same thing that they had back in the 30s.
Absolutely.
Limitations of the contract and what you're willing to. I'll get print. I'm doing a commercial on Friday, so I have an agreement for the print. I have an agreement for the video. I have an agreement for the day rate. Agreement for all this, other ancillaries. But you do that with every contract you have. This is just one more addendum you got to put in. And you say, okay, no, you can't.
In those commercial things, when you look at it that way, whether you want to talk commercials or games or whatever, if they're like, "Hey, do you want to be the spokesman for Geico forever? That is the only thing we will use it for, but you're signing essentially like a lifetime contract until they decide to stop using you."
Yeah.
Is that the way that people are starting to use AI, or are they actually using it in malicious ways?
I think it's more about. I think the bigger problems of this is that if they take ownership of your voice or what you look like, if they use it with impunity, then also they don't have to pay you because they got it. Then you got to sue them for it. So the idea is we have to, and this is where it gets really hard for actors, because we're pretty much fucking useless. I know we think we're fucking special and we have opinions on politics, but get rid of every fucking actor and no one cares, right? Really. But you get rid of the fucking plumbers and the garbage men. we got problems very quickly. So I have no delusions of what we do. We are entertainment, and
like
that's it.
like you specifically, like I love your character with Woods. We've had that conversation multiple
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Obviously, at some point, that character could become diluted if somebody other than you was writing it.
Well, that
But
happened. I mean, that fucking happened
oh,
already. And that
obviously,
wasn't even AI. They hired somebody that's imitating. That already
absolutely.
happened. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, say that recasting didn't happen and AI happened beforehand, and they're like, okay, Bernsey, will you sign a contract for the lifetime of this character that we're allowed to write for you,
They
and it
offered me
is you?
$500. They did it a few years ago. They offered me $500.
They offered you $500 to
500 bucks.
have you as the person forever.
Yeah, permanent. They
But
hit it. They hit it at the bottom of the contract. They tried to hire me to do I think I can't what it's some handheld thing. And then I kept reading it. I go to the bottom. I go, you are claiming my likeness and my performance in perpetuity. No, 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 no. If you say anything else, you want to use it, you got to pay me again. Yeah, that's just it. And the thing
absolutely,
is, you're not dealing with you're not dealing with some rinky dink. This is the biggest company in the world. They can afford to pay me a few thousand
and
bucks.
there's two ways to go about it. Either do a lump sum at the beginning. Here's two, three, four, $5 million, and then you own ten
Oh, that'd
percent.
be nice. Fuck, you kidding me?
But you see what I'm saying? Like they're making millions of dollars a year.
Yeah,
You're the main character of the game. That would make sense.
yeah,
Hey, I don't want to renegotiate for the next 10 years. Here's 5 million. You owe 5% for the rest of your life for this specific title and any game that you're a part of or sold in or whatever.
yeah. Again, and that's what it needs to be. It needs to have the ability to enforce that contract. That's where a union comes in, because the collective bargaining capabilities. That is what allows you to negotiate and have strength. And getting the terms, like what I need the union for is to set the terms of like, oh, here are the terms. If you get, it's like residual payments. They change every couple of years. They have increases and changes of format, and you give and take. Whatever. So you get a higher rate, but you get different levels, and so there's a constantly ebb and flow of how to make things affordable for the beginners and make it a little. I mean, it's very much when I think about it, it's like a microcosm of our nation. They want the rich to pay more, but yet the rich are actually doing all the big work. So granted, they want to pay more, but if you work for Treyarch, you get scale and a half. But if you work for a smaller company, you only make a couple $100 a day. So really, again, it's so many more facets than what's presented. It's not like a big company bad, little actor good. No, look at you got to know your value, and you get your value is what you can demand for your services. If you know if they know that if they have what's his name, Matthew McConaughey in your film, he's probably worth. You can pay him $20 million because you're gonna make you're probably gonna have several million people tune in just to see him. So he's
Exactly.
worth it. So that's value. You get some unknown actor who has no presence. Well, they may be great, but nobody's tuning to see them. They're tuning in to see the star or whatever it is, and that's the reality of the business. You get paid. You get paid for one of two things: your ability to tell a story, move the plot from point A to point B, or you get paid because you're the reason people are tuning in. And the second one, that's a career. The first one is you're hustling. I am nuts. Often I compare myself to a day laborer at Home Depot. I just as an actor, I'm a day laborer. They just show up for a day too. I'm not the
And
reason. In some cases, yes. Some cases I have enough visibility where I can drive the price of a film, but not not a huge studio film. But smaller films, I have enough visibility where you're going to have certain money. Yeah, there's an index, and I'm actually on it, but I'm way down at the bottom of it.
so the fact that they offered you $500 to keep your
Yeah,
likeness and availability is insane to me. Have you heard what's going on with Call of Duty recently with
no,
everything
I
that's
don't
come
pay
forth?
attention, man. No,
So,
dude, I am so fucking busy right now. I can't afford. Yeah, I can't afford. I can't afford to pay attention to it. There's no time in my day, and I don't get sucked into it.
oh, absolutely. I completely understand. I'm just throwing the point out there. I didn't
What's
know
going
how.
on? Hey, give me the brief rundown. What's going on?
So they got flagged for using AI. Like around Christmas time, they released a image with a Christmas zombie that had 6 fingers and reaching out to try and touch you and grab
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, that's AI. And then they're like, okay, guys, let's look at the maps. So they looked at the layouts of all of the maps, and they're all like basic bitch computer generated shit. Like the most basic level computer AI shit that you could ever find. Like if you searched, give me a map layout, spit it out, give me this kind of idea texture wise, and it spits it out. It's like that level shit. Like you could be designing maps for Treyarch right now. Now, the fact that they're like, hey, can we have your likeness forever? And that they're doing all of this AI stuff makes me feel like they are going to still do it. Like they are taking the quotes and stuff that those people are saying from the people that replaced you and Leachy, and now they're tuning their voice slightly more towards yours or morphing the voices together and crossing them over. I would not be surprised if there is problems like that going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm sure that's already happening. I have no doubt. And also, but I can't really. I use AI with my music stuff. I mean, I
Oh,
use it.
absolutely.
You know, I
Who
use it.
doesn't?
It say there's people I used to hire for things. I don't hire them anymore. I don't need them. So I get that. I get cost savings. I get that. And like I said, we are not. You know, we are fucking volunteers
And you're the
across the board.
commodity at
Actors,
some point too.
writers, directors. We're all volunteers, man. We are not owed a living. We're not owed it. You know, it's just not. I mean, you either get over yourself and figure out a way to become more valuable to a company, or you deal with it. But you can complain all you want, but they're going to pay you what you're worth to them.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what's interesting when you look at that stuff is like, oh, they looked at you and saw you as $500 when you were the face of half of the
But they
franchise.
probably thought I wouldn't read the contract because everyone else signed it. Everybody else was, I think, all signed it, and I no look at the contract. I go, like,
Well,
well, that's
in
$500, you know.
2019, they recast both games essentially. They
Yeah,
recast the
yeah,
entire Black Ops game with you, and
right.
they relaunched Modern Warfare with Leach and everything else, and then he was replaced. So honestly, I think that a lot of those times, like if you look back at those and they where they swapped over the cast, that's where the cast swap happened. You were one of the people that they were going to continue through and keep around and teach everybody how to do it. And then you're like, fuck this. This right
Yeah.
here is garbage.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about those events, and
No, I don't expect you to. I just thought it was interesting with
as I'm trying to recall things again, do not know what happened. Not bitter about it at all. I'm just very grateful that I had the
oh,
opportunity to do what I did. I mean, come on, what a great thing.
I
But
would I
at
would
the
love
same
every
time,
second of it.
because they let me build this character from the ground up, right? At the same time, the subsequently the actions they have, like just to me, I know something. There's something that I have a theory about the business, and it's not just a guess. I've seen this in action. You know, when things become successful and the people who provide the money, they're not getting the accolades. Yeah, it's you know
Yep.
they made the film, but it's the director, the writer, the actors, and they get all the attention. And at some point, you start hearing like when the investors. And this happened on one of my movies too. They said, well, you know, hey, what if we do this? Oh, what if this guy did this? Oh, hey, my niece is an actress. Can we get her in? Can we give her a part? There are these little things that drip in. And people want to be part of the success more than just being the money bag. Right.
Well,
There's a couple of
you even
investors.
see that with
Right.
Me Too. You
What's
even see
that?
that with Harvey Weinstein and Me Too as well. Like he
Yeah.
wanted to be such a big part of things and be credited in such a way that he used that power that he, you know, helps fund these movies as a way to, you know, get in bed with people. And that's crazy. It's crazy
Yeah.
that there's
Well,
so
there's
much
that. I mean,
involvement left like that.
that's sort of a that's not that's in the same building I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the
Oh, I know.
people who are executives. They start giving directives down to the creatives, and the creatives have got to. So the story gets, oh, that's not part of the story. Well, make it part of the story because I'm signing the checks.
Yeah.
And I've seen this in movies too. The guy with the checks. Well, I don't like that. I want this. You know, I disagree with that. I want this. The way it fucks the story up. So that was I just think that with Black Ops there are so many cooks in the kitchen, and mostly the original architects were gone. The original writers, I think only one or two remained. So the architects of the original 1 and 2 and parts of 4, they were gone. So now you have these people coming in on this massive machinery, and they don't know how it was built. They just know it works, and they don't know why it works. A lot of times, let's do this. Well, let's give Woods this kind of gravelly voice and this punky attitude. So that's not quite what we're doing with Woods. So I mean, otherwise to the whole thing. So I think a lot of it is just attrition. It's impossible to keep that pace up for a long time. It's such a grind. So I think there's a lot of I think there's so many elements, and that rounds us back to this whole thing of AI. It is a grueling process to make a video game. It's grueling because it's all pixel, pixel, pixel. And if AI takes away the grunt work, it makes it more efficient and it's probably a little better. And the problem is that the people who are, again, I have this problem when I talk to AI. If you're not, you got to learn how to talk to your AI system. You got to develop a rapport with it so it understands your vernacular. And then you got to try to isolate it, because once it gets out into the world, it picks up other vernacular, and that's when all this inaccuracy comes. So my experience with AI has been like I'll get some really great results, and then it'll go back into the internet and come back with hope. But no, that's not right. One time it said I was dead, that I died in Hawaii. I go, no, I'm pretty much. So now James C. Burns is deceased. He died on the island of Hawaii in the town of Tenakila. I go, no, but they had to make James C. Burns from Call of Duty. So it gathers inaccuracy, because once it leaves your port and goes out and gathers, sort of like these little, how AI works. It kind of goes out and it takes data points, and it kind of searches them out and kind of brings them in. It puts them in an algorithm. Saying if A plus B is C, then D. If A is A. So basically, it's math. And sometimes the math, life is all math, but it's not linear math. It's all canonical. So.
Yeah, I asked AI the easiest question ever. I was like, hey, give me people that have about this follower base in between 100K and 500,000 viewers, followers on Twitter, that have open DMs and that range in comedy to like men's lifestyle stuff. Just looking for guests and guest ideas, because if you're not on top of YouTube all the time, it is hard to find people consistently. Like, who the hell wants to talk to this person or that person? Give me somebody new. Let's see what these people are. Every single person that Twitter's AI suggested for me, every single one had closed DMs. And I'm like, is it that hard to watch a flag that's available to be checked? Like, I even pay for Twitter Blue. Like, there's zero reason for you not to be able to see if it's flagged or not flagged. That is something that's on your website, not even another one.
Yeah.
So AI is fantastic in some ways, but in some ways, if you don't know exactly how to use it, you're just as incompetent as the person that's not trained.
I think there's also, I don't say it's nefarious by choice. I just think that once you can't help but program your own bias into a computer, just because we're biased human beings, that we have a point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that's becoming an issue. And when you have like a lot of platforms that aren't Anglo-centric, they are there's one AI that I asked to get me a poster of Sergeant Frank Woods, and Woods was a Nigerian, the Woods character, they're all African Americans, and I go, and then I asked for me, and then James C. Burns came up as African American, and
it's just like you're not paying attention.
Well, I can't. I mean, because if it's running through, depends on the process of the running through, and it's kind of like they distribute all the.
Well, there's also that weird like COD wise, knowing the story of what it is. It probably connects to that one story where you go to Nigeria and you ride the horses and you deal with.
I think it's less than that. I think it's just that when you want to serve the audience on your platform. So if it's a platform that's based out of India, they're gonna just assume that they're gonna want to see it, that they want it to look like themselves. So
absolutely.
And I think that, I mean, I've seen the Asian Woods, I've seen the Asian Burns. It's kind. Actually, I think I kept. Where are they? I might have kept some snapshots, some screenshots of them. It was just kind of funny to see
Yeah,
that.
no, it's hilarious to watch that like transparency of like, okay, no, this is what we expect you want. And then if it's not exactly what you expect you want, you're wrong.
And I promise you, by this conversation, if I open Instagram, I'll start getting all kinds of things about this conversation. I mean, it's happening more and more and more. I said it's
Oh yeah,
crazy.
absolutely. It's so interesting to watch what Meta and Google and everybody actually pay attention to everything without like even setting off the corresponder on your phone. So that way it tells you, oh, it's recording you. Why is it recording me? There's
Yeah,
no light there.
yeah,
There should be
yeah.
no permission right now. Fuck off. Like I
Even,
remember,
apparently, even when you turn off your iPhone, it's not. It's still listening,
yeah.
and it's constantly blasting us with infrared. So that there's an infrared record that even now my phone's not on. Apparently, if you had infrared goggles, it's blasting infrared constantly and reading the room, so it knows what the room looks like. You know.
Well, I would assume that like when they started using remotes for TVs and stuff, I would assume that that did that too, because it's always scanning for the remote to be sending a signal
Sure,
to change.
sure.
So I would assume that those things have happened for decades now. They're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
reusing them in different ways that they didn't expect to be able to at the beginning. But you know, as a whole, it's still a fucking weird situation.
Yeah, it's again, it's it's not going to change. Um, Adapting to it, finding ways to benefit from it is that's the challenge. I mean, it's like thing. Remember, a couple hundred years ago, oh, the new fangled automobiles have never replaced the horse and buggy. Well, guess what? Gas lights are the way. Electric lights are that's too crazy. Well, now electric lights. So we've always had resistances to the quantum shifts in technology, and this is just one more. You know, this is like, I mean, the
The
cell
interesting
phone,
thing with
cell
AI to
phone, come on,
me,
man. Cell phones used to be the thing of the
yeah,
rich. Now everybody's got a cell phone, right?
the thing to me is with AI that's interesting and going to be really, really confusing once it gets good, because it's not even good yet, is the video AI and the copying people's voices and saying that they said things and how are we slowly going to be able to tell where things were originated from? Because there's going to be a time when people start getting cases for things that are said, but they didn't.
I think what's going to start happening, and it's already done. It started with music decades ago, actually, with Napster. Is that there's going to be identifiers? There's going to be little code lines because you can't. Before you could rip anything on the internet. Now you can't because it's all protected. So I get a feeling that original content is going to have the code. It's going to have like a label on it. And so I think if there's going to be some type of a watermark, so to speak, that says, okay, this is AI generated. And you're going to need some type of scanning process to do that. So I got a feeling that could happen. But at the same time, I've been watching, what happened to it?
An
I was on
interesting thing with
Instagram. I was on Instagram watching hockey. And for some reason, I watch hockey and I look at and there's some vitamins for men, right? There's these things and knee injury stuff. So I'm scrolling through the vitamins and knee injuries. All of a sudden comes this really voluptuous girl, and I'm like, she's kind of that's like a that's not real. And then I kind of looked at it, saying, what is this real? And I go, they go, if I don't sit here and study this, I can't tell it's not real. This is just a really voluptuous, curvaceous gal walking down the beach. And the environment looks great, but I
yep.
really had to sit and study it and say, wait a minute,
It's
what
like hands
is
and feet. That's all that's left that they fuck up. Like hands, feet, and sometimes mouths. That's
so?
it.
But what I did is I look at the energy coming off the body, the energy of movement in the
Yeah.
and so it's like watching a model. It's all affectation. Or like watching pornography. Like there's not these people are connecting. They're just going through the motions, and you can see that. It's like you can just you feel that it's not right. You know, it's a base thing, right? And when I'm watching some of these girls, like what that they're not real because I'm not sensing anything from them other than that they're imitating movements that suggest something. It's like watching a stripper who's trying to get money out of you. She would act like she likes you, right? She doesn't like you. She just wants your money, you
Yeah.
know? It's like a commercial, like a bank. The bank is not your friend. They just want your money. The insurance company is not your friend. They just want your money. So
They want as much of your money as they possibly can get.
so AI is just taking it to the next level, and you can tell. I mean, if you just take a minute and just observe it, see how it makes you feel, and see your gut reaction, and beyond just the salacious, visceral.
Well, there was a hack of, I believe, the Department of Homeland Security or Social Security, where they hacked all of the computers in the entire department and put a AI video of Trump sucking on Elon Musk's toes.
That's funny. That's good. That's funny.
And they've already found the hacker, which is hilarious how quick that was.
Yeah.
We can't find thousands of people, but that was
What's that
quick.
when I saw with Zelensky? Like Zelensky, like a little baby, and he pick up and they throw him out of the office. I mean, that shit's funny, man. It's funny. It's like
It's hilarious.
What's good about it? It's so over the top. It's not real. It's that's a great use for it. But the danger is, and what's happening is
realism things.
Our fucking, especially our idiot politicians, like they'll take something like that and they'll run with it. Or Rachel Maddow will tell some lie. I like those people. Like, how can they not be prosecuted for just lying? The constant lies.
Propaganda.
You're just fucking lying. You're just making shit up right now.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, what's great about what's going to happen with the AI? Well, I saw this AI, and then that may be a get out of jail free card for people. Well, how did I know? I did my research online, and then it's an interesting story. I heard someone talking about this. Back in the 80s and 90s, if there is a story about a politician or somebody that the people from the newspaper who are right, they call and they fact check it. They call you. Oh, listen, we have a story coming out. They said you got caught with a giraffe in a very suggestive position, and want to get your you want to confirm or deny it. But that doesn't happen anymore. No, that it rarely do journalists reach out for confirmations. They just write it and see where the chips fall, which I think is really. I think
we had the same problem with a YouTuber who made a video about Verlis. The dude's name's June the King. He has like maybe 150, 200,000 subs. Verlis is a bigger channel. And he just didn't understand the context of what Verlis does with calling out cheaters and hackers and stuff like that. He's like, oh, he's a scourge on the situation. But it's like, you're saying that he said these people cheated, but you're not saying whether or not that there's proof. You're allowing people to pin comments. You're not asking him for comment. You're not asking to have a conversation with him or see why he said these things. You're just out and out lying for the reasons why he's saying things. And I'm sorry, Jude, but you're a piece of shit for doing that. Absolutely out and out a piece of shit if you don't correspond with the person, if you're able to, which he was. That's what you're supposed to do as a journalist. Even if you're,
I think that goes hand in hand with this idea of twerking. Doing something salacious to get eyeballs and doing something outrageous to get attention. That really is the disease. Just to get eyeballs on. The addiction is to get the attention, get the eyeballs. And I think that is really something that I don't know how you address that. I mean, how do you get people people make money by drawing attention to what they're doing. That's part of the business. So, and if we are willing to be, and people will drift towards what they agree with. I told you about these couple of old folks. They just want to see, they don't care who's running, as long as it's not Trump. They hate Trump, and they don't care what happens as long as Trump. If we get in a nuclear war, it doesn't matter because Trump's a bad man. But there's nothing about that. So that predetermination is just totally reinforced. So there's no reason to go outside of it because there's so much out there reinforcing your bias right now.
Yeah, and there's so much reinforcing just saying the crazy fucking thing. Honestly, what's stopping me from saying Call of Duty offered me $500 for a forever contract as the title of this show? It's not factually incorrect. It's salacious. It's making people click. But at the same time, it's like I could edit that title and say that they offered me $100 for a contract indefinitely, like no fucking end. And literally, it's just taking what you said out of context and reportraying it to people to get people to click. And like that's dishonest as fuck.
The other part is now you have to prove it's not true.
Yeah.
That's impossible. How do you do that? How do you prove it's not true? You can't. Like, there's no way to prove something's untrue. You can prove it's true, but how do you choose? How do you prove a falsehood? It's not possible. You know.
And it's asinine. Like something big is happening in New York. I don't know if you heard about this. The governor that was fired because he was grabbing fannies and killing grannies, Andrew Cuomo, is now running for mayor of New York City. So that way he could kill those grannies and grab those fannies. Because, like, how the fuck does this work? Like, what the fuck? You thought that you were accepted so well last time that you were thrown out of office that you feel like it's acceptable to go back? Where is this, man? Like, what the
Yeah,
fuck is going on? Because there's no
I wasn't aware of that. That's pretty ballsy. But you know what? If it's a blue state, if they're going to double down on there's double down on the idiocy. I mean, like they're still doing the same things they did that lost them. The things that lost them the election, they're still doing. And the more they do it, the more people who are possibly in the middle are drifting over to the conservative side because they're continuing to do what they're doing. And it's like you're doubling down on this shit. What are you? And I think that's all Cuomo is. He was just a yes man, and now New York is panicking because they can't do congestion pricing. And
well, you have him running for mayor, and you have Hochul literally destroying the entire state with dumb shit like congestion pricing. Like,
yeah.
I
mean,
never heard.
it's not like there's none of graft and corruption in local New York local politics or as it is. I owned a restaurant. I was partners in a restaurant for 20 years, and like we were paying people left and right just to come get the trash.
The bridge is $20 to go
paying off
across.
inspectors. I
What are
had to
you
go
talking
down,
about?
and it's like it happened all the time. You had to pay off your inspectors. You couldn't get your restaurant grade, and it happened all the fucking time. It's like it's part of your business. Business accounting. You go, okay, we're gonna get $1,000 a month for these guys. Yeah, get this. And there's just cops can buy. They're gonna want some money for the police association.
It's just like them mandating the easy pass and everything else. It's like, okay, you guys said this was supposed to be free. Why can't we go to a part of the state for free?
Well, again, as you're doing now, where's that money going? If we have an account, okay, we've paid in $20 billion and we spent $20 million in repairing the roads. I'm good with that. That's fine with me. If that's paying off part of the.
And if it's repairing all of the roads and taking care of everything, that would make a lot of sense.
But
why is the only road in the state?
I love to see an accounting of what happens to the money once they get it, because they collect a lot of money in New York. You're paying a city tax. What are they doing with it? What exactly happens with that money? Because
why is it $30 to go into the city because of congestion pricing, plus the $20 to go across the bridge, the $25 to go through the tunnel? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
But you get what, 100,000 cars a day? What's that? It's $2 million a day just to cross the bridge. That's maintenance fees. How many millions? How much does it cost to maintain a bridge? Quarter of $1 billion a year. I'm sure they make that in a month. So where is the money going? Where, when you're paying it, and we'll just blindly pay this shit, like good little communists. It's like it's really upsetting when now they have so much resistance to somebody trying to just open the books up. Let us see what we're paying for. What is this money for? Who is benefiting from this? And I got a feeling it's not gonna be pretty.
Oh, I guarantee you it's not. I guarantee you it's not. There's no way in hell that a situation where they're, as you said, logically, they're paying off the entire maintenance for all of the bridges into New York City in a month. Where does that money come from? It's from the everyday person.
Yeah.
The person that makes billions of dollars doesn't give a fuck.
Businesses, small businesses, the people have, it's like because the bigger business, they get their rent. Like when there's certain companies that I was involved with, and they got a 100-year lease, and the first 20 years was there's no fee the first 20 years, and they're friends, and it's a massive. They had a whole pier to themselves, and had a deal where they have a really good deal first couple of years, no rent, but they're developing it. That makes sense, right? But it's not a public company. It's a private company getting benefit from taxpayer dollars, like a football stadium, right?
Yeah.
We're paying money, and a private owner is getting that. And fine, but I don't know.
And why are ticket prices so
Yeah,
fucking expensive for doing everything?
Yeah. So like the municipality pays for the stadium, and then but they gives the stadium to the owner. They make all the money off it. So there's a lot of things that when you look at money in politics and government, it's like, stadiums do not, have a lot of economic impact in the areas they get. Like there's no great jobs at the stadiums. They're part-time workers making $15 an hour selling popcorn. It's not. These aren't jobs that people can live off of.
Like, even if you're security and you're like front fucking stage, so even if you're counting the ticket price for where you're sitting every single night or whatever, you're working like one or two of those shows a week.
Yeah.
You're not working all of them.
So when they pitch it as the economic benefits, I mean, well, maybe. I mean, yeah, so people can park cars in their lawns 10 times a year. It's just not reality. It's like, but that's what I want to see addressed. I want to see, especially in a place like New York, like where's that money going? They collect so much money. Where's it going? Who's getting it?
Yeah, especially when you look at the places like the city, you look at people that have been so corrupt for so long, and they gerrymander states that way they don't have representation.
And it makes you wonder, like when they start recycling guys like what's it, Como?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a guy's, what's the reason for recycling him? Well, he knows the system. He knows how to, again, I don't know him. I don't know anything about it. I never met the guy. But I'm saying the logic would dictate if he was part of it, and now they're bringing him back, because he would have come back unless somebody offered, say, okay, we'll back you. Somebody's going to finance that move. It costs money to come, millions of dollars.
Especially when you have his dad, who was a governor and everything else, who wasn't disgraced, was loved.
But
both of them now have been disgraced. You have Chris, who was kicked off of CNN.
He's part of the system.
Yep.
So there'll be money behind them, and folks don't have, especially if they're under the enchantments of like AOC or those kind of people are saying, no, you should be given, you deserve more free things, you deserve more free stuff. They're not idiots or thieves, and that's when you get these people moving in that direction and get them agitated. They'll support that because they believe people who are happy don't protest. They don't even show up and vote because they're happy. Things are good, right? And look what it took to get people out to vote for Trump this time. It took basically the world turned upside down. They had to turn the world upside fucking down before people got pissed off enough to take action. And they got to keep the momentum because the people who show up they're the ones that are pissed off, and you've got like Al Sharpton and all these agitators. They just go out there to get people pissed off, and it's like
no, and it seems like that's exactly what they're meant to do. Is like, oh, we just have people that piss everybody off always because that's all they deserve to do, and it's just like, guys, we bought in, we bought all of the everything is shit. We bought it hook, line, and sinker, and it's like, guys, there's so many more fucking things in this world that we could be doing to fix things. And we're all worried about, what thing pisses us off today. And it's not even our feelings. It's our neighbors' feelings that they got from 3 people away from them.
Bliss. I can't remember where I read this. But it's basically autonomy and bliss is having the ability to stand in the fires and the winds of other people's weather, other people's storms, to be able to be unaffected by other people's weather, and that's like an old accent. I think it might have been a poet, but being unaffected by another person's weather, and what a great gift to give somebody where you can stand with someone, especially like if your girlfriend or wife or something. If you can stand there while they're just, dumping all their toxicity out, and you don't take any of it out, but you're not telling them to shut up. You're unaffected by it, and
Yeah.
that to me is that's bliss. That's power. I can stand here and let you go off and go nuts, insult me, berate me, but I create my own definition, so I don't have to really depend on you. And that
And
allows once someone, you endure that storm for somebody, it allows them, oh shit, I just went 3 barrels on this guy and nothing happened. Oh, that'll force to reflect on what you're saying to us. If you don't react, if you can stay in a place of calm and just let somebody see that, oh, this is not about me at all. They're just losing their shit, and then just let them go, because either they'll self-correct or they'll just self-destruct. But you cannot ever take on anyone else's angst or anxiety or anger. It's just ridiculous, you know.
and after dealing with 15 years of that level of abuse, of just somebody spewing the worst shit to like mentally affect you for so long, it is so weird to just draw the line and be like,
Well,
I'm not doing that
wait,
anymore.
wait. If that was happening for 15 years, your fucking fault.
Oh, it was my fucking fault. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what.
If it happens for more than 3 months, walk away. Either,
Oh,
because keep going. Like it's the old saying, going back and keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. That's insanity.
well,
If you
it
really,
wasn't
if you are
even,
being abused, fucking walk away before
it
it gets.
was not realizing that I deserved more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a weird thing when you come from absolutely nothing. You either have the I'm going to get myself everything kind of bug in you, or you get it eventually, or you have the whole I deserve nothing, so I accept
Yeah,
what I get.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean your whole predication of your perspective comes from childhood. Whatever
Yeah.
happened in those formative years, who knows what it is? One moment in time, you have great parents, and just one thing's, there's so many great parents out there who have kids who are just a mess. Like, how did that happen? Then I
And
know parents who like drink and
it's
they're retarded, and next thing you know, the kids are great guys. I mean, how did that happen?
no
So
fucking idea.
at some point in time, the divine, I think there's divine intervention that gets you to needs where you got to go. I'm there. I mean, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't
Yeah,
be.
no,
You know,
like if I look at my life as a whole, you go from 4 years old being suicidal to 27 healing from it and realizing exactly how to like do this thing called life and building what I built. It's a bookend, and you can see the end of like, okay,
yeah,
my divorce is step one of fixing myself and realizing that I deserve more than what I was given before. Like during our first interview, I was pulled away from the interview and said that I had to end it because the baby couldn't be taken care of by my ex-wife because she was too fucking lazy to do so. Why? Because I took care of the baby entirely by myself.
right.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
such a
man.
surreal thing to see
We
that bookend.
the end of the day, there is there's a rule, and I've broken it several times here, and it's okay. Looking backwards is fucking useless. Only looking back to gather dates and facts. But going
Yep.
back and talking about the past, reliving the past, because every time you talk about it, you're making it present. When I talk about it, it becomes reality. I'm thinking about it, and
Oh no,
what we think
absolutely.
becomes reality. So for me, I got to really be careful to stop talking about the past, because it has no fucking value. It's gone.
And
You
but
can't, you can't affect change, right?
it is hard not to look at the past when you look. So you learn in school that history repeats itself, and if you don't change the way that you're looking at something, or you don't change the way that you're impacting something, you're always going to get the same response and the same reaction from the same situation. So should you ever look back at a specific situation of like this caused this? No. But you should look back at everything vaguely as a way to impact yourself and better yourself to be a better person. That is what you should do. Being introspective of, oh, I reacted incorrectly in this situation. This is how I change that. This is how I affect that.
That's data collection.
Yeah.
That's, but going back to and just kind of doing it for a lot of people do it for recreation. A lot of people just they connect that way by talking about the past. I know, I've been involved with women like that where their whole thing, their families, all they just talk about what happened 50 fucking years ago.
No,
Oh,
I
I
don't
remember
fucking like
that
that shit.
day when, yeah, I've heard this story 100 times, but go ahead. Like the idea is that reliving the past is more valuable than what you're doing right now, and that's the dangerous place to be for me. I gotta be careful about that.
Well, it's so easy to fall into it. It's so
Yeah.
easy to fall into it when your life is unbelievable almost. When the things that you've dealt with are, as you said, from what you said, not last time you were on, the time before, when I told you about how my grandparents, my grandfather on my dad's side and my grandmother on my mother's side ended
Yeah.
up getting together. You're like, that should be a movie. And it's like, okay, well, all these things happen. And it's just like, if they're never told, they dissipate, they're gone. But it's still a cool story. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird to kind of try and dictate that into, okay, well, having these conversations and having fun and enjoying those times is great. But repeating the story 100 times and, you should have fucking ended 15 times ago,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
difference there.
Yeah. It's like rehashing, like when you get involved in the relationship and keep rehashing an event over and over, and she won't shut up about it. Yeah, I get it. I did it. I already said I'm sorry. So a lot of times you get that people need to have that to recycle that information
Yeah,
because
because they don't believe that the apology is real, and it almost falls into the thing where you were talking about earlier, where it's like, okay, we're going to keep recycling over the same feelings and the same emotions because you're not a human. You prove to me that you lie. You prove to me that these things happen. So therefore, everything that I feel about you, whether it's negative or
yeah,
positive, is
yeah,
automatically validated.
there's a lot of that, but I also think it's because if we were to how do I why do I do it? Say I can't. How do I do this? So I drift into the history because I am not willing to deal with the discomfort of a silence or the reality that, oh, maybe this person I'm with, they can't go there, and that means I'm going to have to make a decision. Or if they're unable to stay present, then I'm going to be alone in their with them, and I'll be all alone in their presence. So I'll join you in that conversation because I don't want. At least I feel like I'm connecting, and connecting in the present. That's a beautiful thing. But many times, I mean, my family, my father was a storyteller. I mean, I'm a storyteller. My father was, but his greatest days were behind him, in his opinion, right? And for me, I'm like, well, no, my best days are still in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm not buying into that. And that's a hard. I mean, again, you just deal with a lot of momentum, and a lot of breaking momentum is the hardest thing for human beings to do. How do you break your momentum? How do you change it? And it's just difficult. It's just really difficult. Takes a
It's
lot of
almost realizing everything that you were doing wrong as a whole, not just in that situation. Where am I wrong? And if you
great
can't
point.
look at
Great point. Yeah.
if you can't sit at the edge of your bed and look at yourself in the face and be like, "What the fuck am I doing wrong?" You're not ready to fix
I mean,
yourself.
you brought up a really great point. Like a lot of folks who were just all over this COVID thing, like the Jimmy Kimmel's, like let people die if they don't take your shot, and forcing people to get shots that are dangerous to them. They can't go back and say, "Oh, I was wrong," because it would basically they would have to challenge all their belief systems. Remember, I said we're one or all. There's no, yeah, hey, you're 80% right. No, you have one thing wrong. It's everything's wrong. So there's no way to go back and say, oh, I fucking missed that one. Shit, I missed that shot. And because they got like a lot of these people who their kids that have they spend money to get the kid transition their 5-year-old kids. Now the kids are waking up like, wait a minute, why am I? They're waking up now they're in the wrong. I read the story about this several times that there's kids waking up now, teens like realizing, holy shit, what did you do to me? Well, you said you wanted. I'm fucking 4, mom. And so and the parents they're gonna have to double down because You imagine the feeling that you did something like this to your kid or another human being based on this belief that you just bought into without challenging it, and now you got to deal with that, with the guilt and the regret around that. You will, and people double down on behavior because they can't, because we can't take the realization, oh man, I really fucked this up, you know? It's
So
horrible.
I got to speak in vague and generalities here, but I understand that poetic justice on a level that a lot of people don't understand. Imagine this. Imagine you have your kids come up to you and say, "Hey, I can't do this anymore. This isn't what I wanted. You lied to me. You've heard me multiple times. This isn't okay anymore."
Yeah.
And you have to look at everybody in the face and lie and say, "I don't understand where they're coming from. They're lying. They're not telling the truth. I am." And it's like, this world's not about your validation. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about anybody specifically one on one. It's about our individual outcomes in these situations that we're dealing with. And if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I can't do that," guess what? You probably should accept the fact that they can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Accept people at their word instead of just
I
assuming
think
that you're
you're
right.
also alluding to the idea that because I think children are now, as infants, we are totally dependent upon, our parents, whatever our caregiver is. And then at some point, they human beings have to be weaned off of that behavior. And it's really uncomfortable for the parents because the kid screams and cries and
Yep.
hates it because they're uncomfortable. But if you don't let the kid learn to manage those emotions, they never will. And I think what's happened is we went so far to the pendulum swing so far over like parenting, like, oh, anything I want my kids to be happy, so I don't want them ever to cry. And if you don't suffer ups and downs and consequences, how do you develop a sense of yourself? How do you develop a self-esteem? You don't overcome a problem. And if you get to a certain age, how are you possibly going to challenge yourself? The things you're talking about, you challenge your own opinion. Well, if you got no mechanism, if you have that muscle that's not been developed since you're a little kid, now how are you going to possibly do it? How can you walk up to some kid who's never been asked to stop, stop what you're doing, reset, and do this? So
They're like,
how
"Oh
are
my
you
God."
going to do it?
And that gives me the perfect availability to ask you this question. At 4 years old, you start sitting them in timeout. Say, "Hey, you don't do that. You sit in timeout here. You're going to learn the consequences for your actions." At 8, 9 years old, you start grounding them. You take things away completely and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
these are the consequences." And they learn. They learn to say, "I'm sorry." They learn to apologize at the vague face level. But you never fully learn accountability. We're
Oh,
looking at a whole bunch of generations now.
yeah.
My parents, me, and then my kids. And I'm saying broadly those ages, the 70s to now, that don't have that accountability really. And they really never learned it. When do
Yeah.
you teach these kids what
Yeah.
accountability
The
is?
thing is, you got to have compassion. We got to have compassion because it's not something they were trained to do. They're trained to be the opposite of that. They're trained that they're the center of the universe, and
Yeah.
that they are still in my processing of it. They are still infantile in the sense that the world has, they cry and the world gives them what they want. They complain, and like what a baby does. A baby would die like that if it didn't communicate through, these very fundamental,
Yeah.
process, crying and they laugh, they get attention, but that is, if that carries on, you see a lot of folks like they move it. That's all they're doing. They're just children screaming to get whatever they think they need. But the problem is they haven't developed the emotional autonomy to check in and say, okay, is this working here? And is it, is my behavior actually getting the outcome I want? Or is it just the world's fucked up and I'm gonna hold my course? And when parents aren't really, like, I've watched a lot of parents, their kids would challenge them. Well, why do you get to tell me what to do? Because I pay the fucking rent. but they can't. Well, I didn't ask you to pay the rent, and they
I
because
hate that argument.
yeah,
I honestly detest that argument. Number
yeah,
one, you brought your kids into this world.
yeah,
It is your job to make sure every single thing that they not want, need is taken care of. Their food, their
yeah.
house, they're warm, their clothes, they're taken care of. If you're a shitty parent, you're a shitty parent, but that's what your job is to do. Like,
Well, I think that's yeah, I agree. I see your perspective. What I'm talking about is that at some point you've got to have the ability to you have the right to because you're provide. Yes, you asked for this kid. Maybe you didn't ask for this kid to ride because you made a bad
yeah,
mistake on a dark night, whatever it is. But at the same time, because you are sacrificing your wealth, your treasure, your time, you have the right of expectation. I'm providing this. And also, my guidance is important that I know more than you. I've done more. I've lived more. I
absolutely.
have more. So if
But
I
I
give you guidance,
it
the
feels
challenge,
like
and plus it's also there's got to be some level of understanding gratitude of sacrifice, like not to recognize your parents as human beings is a really big deal. I mean, that's going to
a-
happen sooner, I think.
and I agree with you 110%, but I think that's where that comment of like, oh, well, I provide a house for you becomes very diluted in that sense. Like if my two older kids, obviously I don't let the 4-year-old question me to this level, but like if my daughter's like, why do you want me to do it this? And my answer is because I pay the bills. I'm not giving you respect. I'm just saying because I say something, you have to obey what I say. And I'm a parent, not a fucking dictator. Like, yeah, there's consequences for you saying I'm not going to do that or I'm not going to do it the way that you want me to.
Hmm.
But at the same time, if you say, "Hey dad, why the fuck do I have to stay off social media for this and this reason?" And I give you the reason, and you say, "Hey, dad, that makes a lot of sense." It's my job to fucking explain that to you because it's my rule. You know what I'm saying?
I think, yeah, and stacking on top of that, I think with the dissolvement of education, with we're not forcing kids to learn words. Like
Yeah.
the vocabulary has gone down from we speak 600 now down to 150 words now, and the words you need to communicate these very specific, very very cerebral ideas don't exist in their world. Like the vocabulary you're going to have to use with people is to explain that. They say, look, I'm doing this because I want to enhance you because you need some discipline, and these are the rules. You need to live by the rules to function in the universe and the world. You're going to have to see what the rules are, and then function inside those rules, or you're not going to have your life is going to be very difficult. That's that's an adult conversation that you have to have with your kid, you know.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the kids are not equipped. They should be by that time, but say they're 13 years old, they should have a fairly good language, but I don't think that's being delivered to them. I don't think it's hard to talk
I
to
completely agree. But I think that a lot of the parents now, and whether they're my age or older than me, regardless, I think a lot of them don't put in enough effort and do not give a fuck. They just want that kid to fucking listen. They just want to hand that kid an iPad and tell it to shut up
yeah.
instead of actually having the question. They want to lead as a dictator instead of getting them to understand what the world is, that they don't want to have that conversation. They don't care enough. Whether they're a bad parent or not, they don't
Yeah,
care enough
I'd
to
be careful saying they don't care. I think it's more about um, energy. I think it's about having stress. I think it's having a kid is really fucking hard. Um, you try to build life, and you have influences that you are not in control of. You have the schools, you have music, you have this addiction to their phones, it's addiction to their iPads. You know the it's hard to break through and get somebody's attention, and it's hard to like sometimes. I mean, I think you have to treat little kids like you would an animal, like dogs. You have to train them the same way. Reward and reward them for the good things. And when they do something, you time on them. But if that language is not developed early on, like there's reward for this behavior, and if you don't do that, there's no reward. So that, that's how dogs learn. I think kids are pretty much the same way cognitively when they start growing up very young age. They act like, what do you
I
reinforce? What behaviors are you reinforcing? You know?
I completely agree. And that's where that decentivization almost of having that conversation with them of like, okay, you can't hit somebody
Yeah,
and sitting them down and being like, okay, so if I hit you, would you be okay with that? And they're like, no, obviously they're going to be no. Okay, then do you understand that that feeling, like if somebody hit you, you're causing that to happen to somebody else? That's step one of being a parent. And it's
yeah.
like
But dude,
that level of parenting isn't there.
but see that's a really, you have to think about that. Most parents are so exhausted to come up with that, and that's going to be people come home, both parents tired, angry, resentful. They haven't been trained. I mean, by the generation raising this generation kids, they haven't been trained that well. It actually started before them. It started like right after the boomers. The
Yeah.
Gen X people. They're free range kids. So they had their own fucking issues, and then they raised another group of kids. So you're talking about a generation that really is being raised by a generation that needs a lot of therapy. You know?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely, and that's exactly what the struggle is like, you'll have 2 parents that absolutely have no idea where the other person is missing something,
yeah,
because they don't even know how to be a parent. Like,
yeah.
if you don't if you look at my marriage, when I got married, as the time when I finally became a dad, I was already a dad for almost 10 years. Like, that's a big fucking problem. I was a dad for 10 years at the point where I got married. Okay, I was shitty before that. But at this point, I understand how to do the like contextual things of like how these things work. And it's just like if you guys just had some guidance, if everybody just had some guidance and a voice to just hear of like, hey, you have to explain it because if something wasn't explained to you, you'd be like, I don't fucking get it. We don't fucking get it. Our phone's in our hand and shoved up our ass. Like, so
Well,
fucking help them understand it too.
and I think a problem that it's exacerbates it is not only do we not get it, but we believe we get it. The hardest way to learn is when you think you already know something. And the way the phone delivers information, you get a little snippet of something. Oh, that sounds good. And then you use it as your argument because you saw it on a phone, but you haven't thought it through, or you haven't done the work to own the concept or own that insight or understanding. It takes time to develop insight and understanding and wisdom. But when you see these like 5 things men do to keep women happy, and then you say, wait a minute, it's all sure, but there's no, that's,
There's
all
no
of a sudden you read
substance there.
those and you think, and you think, I'm guilty of this, and you think you know it because I read it for 6 seconds. I think I know those things. I go, whoa,
Yep.
wait a minute. It's like watching a video of someone trying to teach you how to, play a song by Eddie Van Halen. You watch it. Oh, yeah, I know how to do it. Yeah, there's this delusion that because you've seen it, it's something. And that really to me is the always the biggest problem is thinking we've got something that we don't, and then doubling down to demand. I remember this young guy. I was talking to him. He's a Call of Duty kid, and he's saying, "Yeah, I'm a katana master." And he's like 11 years old. So I go, "Really? That's pretty." Yeah, I've been training and practicing for. I go, "Wow, this is pretty good." So, and all he did was just slash around. Like he had a plastic sword. And he was just kind of slashing around. But because his parents told him that, and no one ever said to you, "Oh, by the way, you're not a master," but he believed he was.
Yeah.
And then and when he went in to play another sport, he did the same thing. He said, "Well, I'm a Golden Gloves boxer," and they got in a ring. He just got fucking pummeled because he
Yeah.
never trained. He just thought he was, and so that because it's the idea if you believe you're something, you're not going to take actions to become that thing, and that means you're gonna end up being very disappointed because now your life goes by and it's like a delusion.
And it's like almost like the delusion that has happened because, 10-15% of the country and the world is autistic and ADHD and does excel in things like that. Half of that is going to be the people that are super intelligent or super expressive with things and able to do things and pick things up much faster than other people. They will be able to do it that way. But it's like now that delusion of, oh, some people are just savants with things and pick things up and are able to do it at a level that is above replacement level, even like not master level, just, picks it up super quick, understands it quicker than most people. And, most people can't replace them. It's like now everybody believes they're that. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah.
It's surreal. It's surreal the way the world has become and everything else.
Well, I don't think it's any different than it was 1,000 years ago. We just have everything's faster now. We have technology now. I'm
Oh,
sure that
absolutely.
I think the same delusions. When you read history and look at the Romans and even France, it's the same delusions. I mean, people think the burning witches. I mean, if you look at the way we make associations and the ignorance of, and when you really believe that you've acquired things you haven't, that the entire history is riddled with this stuff. So we're not no, we haven't evolved that much. Our technology has evolved. Our ability, the speed by which um, we can react is like it's nuts. It's terrifyingly fast right now.
And
Like,
it's almost like we've made ourselves retarded because of the technology and the things that we've done.
oh,
We
sure,
cannot
in many
we
ways,
could
in many ways, I
we
agree.
cannot ask people how things work or why they feel something or why they are something, because that's wrong and that's unacceptable now. But yet, if you go back 15 years, having that conversation of why and how was the understanding of the other person that's across from them. And it's
It
just like, what the fuck?
makes me wonder like, how many kids have gone on the path of like calling themselves transgender or they've done things because no one's ever asked them to challenge a feeling. They know because their parents never were strong enough to say, okay, no, let's talk this through. Oh no, you're not. You're not a dog. No, you're not. You and it's like I don't know how many kids have gone. There's so many more of these kids. I think that I have people around me whose kids are. I can't have this many friends with kids who are they're transitioning. That's it's just there's no
It's 0.01% of the population.
the
Like,
empirical model doesn't match this up. It can't be
yeah,
all these kids are that. So it's got to be something else. And the fact that goes with parents are very liberal. Parents are really terribly afraid to talk to them and have them, and their children's comfort was paramount. So the kid was never left to be. They never challenged the kids. They never, they never. The kid's uncomfortable. They would collapse. They wouldn't force the kid to like, you know, deal with things. They just well, okay, and they would just, and plus they left. I
I
just
had
think
this.
that a lot of kids have been left to their own devices and haven't been asked to stand up for themselves, challenge themselves. Here, do you? All right, do you feel that? Well, maybe you don't. Process that.
I
Deal
had
with it. Resist it for a little bit. See what happens.
I had this thought on the lonely road, and that's the mental health podcast. If anybody wants to go check it out, go check it out. It's grown insanely. But I had this thought, and I really kind of like the way that I put it. Is your biggest job as a parent is to make sure that your kid is likable. You don't want your kid to go into school and be
That's
the
a Jordan
burnout.
Peterson thing, isn't it? That's a Jordan Peterson thing.
It might
Grow
be.
kids,
It very well might be. But
grow kids that people can like because you socialize them. They're going to be liked and they're going to have. But yeah, that's a great concept. Yeah.
you want to grow them into the most rounded, intellectual, available person to have whatever conversation they possibly can have, and also be interpersonal enough to have the
Or
connection with the
be
person.
somebody who you like,
Yeah,
who
exactly.
you like spending time with. Yeah.
Like I remember, my kids were like 5, 6 years old at the time, so this was like 10 years ago, and I was playing video games, and I handed them a controller, and my wife at the time was like, "Oh, why are you letting them play these video games?" I was like, "Number one, they understand it's a video game. Number two, if they can spend time with either of us and we can have a fun time,
Yeah.
then they're able to do that with their friends. They're able to replicate that over and over and over and over again. And that will make them more of a well rounded person if they're able to actually enjoy something and have fun. Like it doesn't matter if it's going to play fucking Guitar Hero from back in the day, going to play Mario Kart or whatever the fuck that is. Like you having a hard stance on they cannot do any of these things, even though you like them, is absolutely wrong. It's your job as a parent to make them as well rounded of a person, not only that you would accept, but the current world would accept, even if they're hard stance on some of the problems of what the world is. I've done a lot of introspection in the past 4 years, and I am such a different person. It's really fucking weird.
I saw this. I saw this video um, of this trainer, and he had this young kid, like 11, 12 years old, maybe younger, and he had him doing wall sits, like little wall sit things. You get your back against the
Yep.
wall, and he was crying. Right, the kid was crying, and and he was keeping him there. I said, "No, no, stay, keep." And people were saying, "Well, you're just being cruel to the kid." And I remember when I was a coach, I had a really talented young man. I was kind of doing the same thing. I had him doing these horse stances, basically for say same thing, but no wall. And he started crying. I go, and I'm realizing that it wasn't so much the pain that would make him cry. It was the fact that he was being asked to go up against his when we're young, we get our value system based on our parents looking at us, doing things for us,
Mhm.
and always taking care of our comfort. So if our parents are always looking at us to make sure we're comfortable, that when you're now being uncomfortable and it's coming from the inside, I think that tearing is that is burning off the infancy. That crying stays like you're becoming infant again, crying because you're uncomfortable. And if you can get the kid to go back to that thing and do it again, all of a sudden there's a moment in time where the boy gets burnt off and the young man appears. And it was just really profound when I saw it on this video today. I said, wow, this reminds me of this couple of moments where I go, yeah, that's the infant
I
burning out and crying because they're uncomfortable and they want it to stop. But yet you say, hey, don't stop. And so
I remember when
you
I was about my son's age, about 10, 11 years old, I just started doing crunches. Like I started working out because I was like, I don't want to be a fat piece of shit. So I'm going to take care of myself in every single facet I possibly can. So I started doing crunches. I got up to like 4 or 500 because, when you do nothing other than sit there and play video games or play
you,
baseball and
you
do sit-ups,
it has consequences, yes.
it you have the time. So my son's like, "Well, what did you do to get your abs and everything else when you took care of yourself?" I was like, "Well, I did crunches. Every single time I had availability, I did crunches, I did push-ups, I just did them. It didn't matter if it hurt, I kept going until I could not go anymore." He's like,
Good.
"Okay." So he goes back to his mom's house and he starts doing the same exact thing, just teaching himself discipline to do it. And she's like, "You're gonna tear a muscle." And I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
my fucking God.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
fucking God.
oh yeah.
You're gonna give me a fucking aneurysm."
Oh yeah. That is such a common trait with mothers and women. You
It's like,
know.
first off, he's a boy. What if he tears a fucking muscle in his stomach? He'll know his breaking point.
Yeah. I think that's about control. I think that's once you start demonstrating discipline and autonomy, especially in a relationship, I think it frightens women because having control over their kids, losing control is terrifying to people. And how do you keep people under control? Well, you shame them, you diminish them, you dismiss what they're doing or what they're feeling, and you say it's not
You
valid.
silence them.
Yeah, and so basically, and it's come by honestly. It's like people who really need control will be a little bit erratic, and they will kind of be condemning of what you're doing. What are you doing? My mother did all the time. Well, what are you doing those exercises for? You think you're Johnny Weissmuller? Like, no, mom, I'm down here working out because I'm a hockey player. Yeah, she loved the results, but what it took to get there was disturbing because it meant that I was kind of taking control of myself. And it was like, and again, it's all innocent. Like she wasn't evil at all, but is just tradition. It's just history. It's ancestral. This control mechanism, and it's also fear based.
And it's almost like the guys feel a drive to do it, and when it's shit on, if you're not able to get past getting shit on, that one or two times that it happens at first,
It could destroy you for your life.
exactly,
You could
it's life altering.
if you're doing something that's really good exercise and good for you, and somebody dismisses it, that could ruin it for life. That could, just as a good coaching moment can change someone's life forever, a bad moment like that where somebody kind of insults you for doing something good, or kind of, and that's like an intimidation thing. Athletes do that to each other.
You can't be better than me. Fuck
Yeah.
you for being better than
Yeah.
me.
Oh, why are you trying so hard? Would you get lost? It's just got a fucking goal. Would you get lost? It's like, the people say that because you're threatening the status quo. There's what the hell is his name? John. There's this famous codependency therapist. And he's thinking about the mobile. The mobile. So basically, the family mobile spins. What a mobile is has all those stuff. Right? So it spins, right? And then so you have a family. You have your classmates. So you have all these spinning mobiles, and you're all moving in this dance. And the minute you stop moving with everybody else, it disrupts the mobile, and people are going to demand you get back in line. What are you doing? Get over here. Well, I'm not. And that's when it gets really. That's when the whole challenge is when someone starts pushing you back in line. Can you stand up? Say, I'm doing this. I don't want. Especially if it's something proactive, like doing extra work. I remember when we used to play my freshman year in high school. I could run, right, and I just thought I thought everybody wanted to work hard, so we get sent out 3 laps before practice, and I remember I took off like a bat out of hell. And afterwards, some guys come, "What the fuck are you doing, man? Don't make us." All the seniors got there, and basically they told me slow down and get back in the pack. But I wanted to run, right? And it affected everything I did from that point on. Like I never strived for greatness because when I thought I was going to be rewarded for making extra effort, but when I didn't, what happened was I did it, and I almost lapped everybody. I felt great about that. Oh, I'm one of the guys. I'm contributing, and the backlash was such that I never tried to do that again. It took me years.
Especially when the payoff for the things that you're doing, whether it's your body or whether it's something like a long-term goal, especially with the way the world works now, that validation doesn't come for a long fucking time.
Yeah.
So if you get shit on at the beginning, it's a fucking wall.
It's devastating. It can be devastating to have at the right time when you think you've done something special, and then somebody, you don't have your autonomy because somebody, diminishes it or kind of criticizes it, and it's like, wait a minute, you will, and you need approval, you need acceptance in that group. It's devastating. It could take years. It could destroy. I've seen it destroy entire high school athletic careers because of that. And why is this guy not confident? Well, I know why. Because this fucking idiot back 2 years ago said this to him at this point in time.
Well, confidence-wise, I was almost 200 pounds, and I'm 6'5". 200 pounds, if I held it correctly, would look absolutely fine. I had neck surgery, so I wasn't able to do anything for like a good 6 months. And I finally started getting my footing back, and my divorce happened and everything else. And I started working out and like getting my 6-pack back, getting rid of the bitch tits, getting rid of feeling like shit every day. And then I get a message of, I liked you better 6 months ago. I liked you better with a dad bod. I liked you better before your surgery. And it's like, so you liked me better when I was passing out. You liked me better when I had no confidence about myself. You just wanted somebody you could walk over. You didn't find me more attractive.
Yeah, and if you can lighten up and get rid of the anger and the resentment, you see, that was you broke the mobile. You changed the relationship to the pattern, and that distresses people because now you're disrupting this whole pattern. John Bradshaw's name is Bradshaw, the Bradshaw work, great book, and John Bradshaw talks about this mobile. And so once you break out of that pattern, there's going to be so much resistance because now you're forcing other people to like look around and go, what are we doing? This is you're because everyone, we kind of go to sleep and get into these trenches, this momentum. And then once you break that momentum, like when you ever watch somebody walk across the street, they're buried in their thoughts, and all of a sudden, the traffic starts, and they get mad at you because they wake up all of a sudden.
Yep.
That's what happens when you break the pattern, the family pattern, or the cultural pattern you're in. Okay, how many communities talk about they're oppressed, we're oppressed, we've been oppressed. Well, how the fuck are you going to see an opportunity if you always believe you're oppressed? You can't see it.
Or
Right?
you feel like you can't get past anything because this is holding you down or that's
that's
holding
all
you
you
down.
hear. That's the
Yeah.
mobile. That's the cultural mobile. And if someone steps out of it, now they're called horrible names, or they're considered traitors. And the other, a very more base analogy is like crabs in a barrel theory.
Yeah.
Once crab starts going up, I got to grab you back down because for whatever reason.
Well, I think
we've gone for almost 2 hours now.
Yeah.
Hour 45 minutes.
It's okay, buddy. We can go.
Yeah. Well, I gotta chop at what time is it now?
It is 9:30.
8:30. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, buddy, for coming on. I love having you on and talking shit with you.
I mean, we just go at it for 90 minutes. I'll see you wake up. Jesus, it's been 2 hours already.
Yeah, we're great at it. We're great at bullshitting.
We're great
and
at
having
it.
fun.
We're great at being knowledgeable and certain about our certainty. Yeah.
Well, I think both of us have a willingness to actually understand where somebody's coming from. And that's unseen by a lot of people. And it makes it really, really easy to kind of just have that conversation and relax and just open up about what's going on. So thank you guys for coming on, hanging out. We'll see you fucking next week. Burnsy, we love you.
We're killing it now. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're streaming it.
I figured you're saying, oh shit. It is what it is. Guys, we'll see you fucking later.